welcome back to Crossman Productions. Man, I'm really excited about today. My guest today, I've been waiting to talk to this guy for quite a while. So he's another podcaster that covers a lot of different sports. He's also a good friend of Ron Beta Wolverines. So he's one of the guys that, because I'm kind of new to this whole power slap stuff. So he's one of the guys that I watch his podcast to get information about power slap. So all you guys that are interested in that and has been following us on, with the interviews with guys, this is kind of where I get my information. So I'm going to bring Terry Dunnng in. What's up, brother?
How you doing, Mr. Parks?
I'm doing great. Ron talks about you all the time. You know what I mean? And
I love Ron.
I'm still kind of new to the whole power slap thing. This whole sport. Even though we had a couple of the guys on, but you're one of the shows I always get my information from. So
I appreciate that.
Of that sport for real. So let me just go ahead and introduce yourself to my audience and tell them tell them your name, kind of where you were born, kind of how you got started into into sports.
Absolutely. My name is Terry Dunnng. I'm a podcaster over at Beyond the Slap. I'm out of Miami, Florida originally. I was there to Hurricane Andrew, a little bit after Hurricane Andrew. And then started out working casinos. I've covered pretty much everything east of here, anything entertainment-wise. I did a little bit of background radio in the early days of internet radio. So that was fun. Back then, I did a lot more interviews of comedians and stuff like that. Well, 1 second, I want to cough in the mic. So I've always had a background kind of in entertainment. My father actually did security for Disney and did the movie stars exclusively, like Dom DeLuise and stuff like that. So I kind of always grew up around entertainment. As far as sports, during the pandemic, I really, just like everybody else, was looking for something to do, and I ended up bumping into Slap Fight Championship. In particular, Ron's match. Where he had slapped somebody and he hit him so hard and then went to go help the guy up. And I found humor in that. I was like, wow, that's it. And you could see the kindness. You could see after he hit the guy, he went to go help him up, just natural instinct. So it just became entertaining from that. Then I saw a couple of Ron's matches, and they just ended up being entertaining. He was a huge part of why I got into this, as well as JT Tilley, his commentary over at Slap Fight Championship, I just found very humorous. It fit right in with this niche and the people who were watching it at the time. And also there was another guy, a podcaster. His name's Charlie. I'm not familiar with exact page and stuff. He's got like 16 million views, but some of the commentary and stuff that he did on it was just like, you couldn't help but to laugh. You would be in tears just listening to this guy. So it was the comedy and the sport itself is kind of how I got into the slap fighting in general.
Okay. Did you start off with slap fighting? I know you interviewed people from like the UFC and other sports as well. Did it start off as slap, power slap, and then go on?
Well, I actually moved to Vegas for two reasons. I moved because power slap was out here, and my girlfriend and my daughter both do martial arts, MMA. And this Las Vegas had the 5th best school in the world, Extreme Couture. So we moved out here for two reasons, and that's kind of how I started doing the MMA guys, Brad Tavares, and there was a few guys in the gym, Sean Strickland. You see some big names in the gym. But I mostly was into the slap fighting guys. I interviewed Ron back, I believe it was 2022. I want to say April. I'm not sure, I didn't bring them facts, but it was way before Power Slap. And he was the first guy I interviewed. I was just so impressed with the sport. I was like determined. I went to go find his name, and it wasn't easy back then. Back then, their names were very secretive. So finding him was, a mission by itself. It took a few months, and I ended up finding him, and it was really cool. It was his first interview. That the guys doing this were not used to being interviewed at the time. So to be able to do that and get his first interview, that's kind of how I got into this. And I started getting to know the guys, and you get to know them personally, and see these are real people, not just guys that go around slapping each other all the time.
Right. Right. Yeah. I kind of started the same way, during my podcast, right after the pandemic. I started doing actors and, musicians, and finally got into, talk to some of the guys in the sport. But Ron I interviewed as well in Power Slap. So I got Ron, and then Babyface came in, and Anthony, he's been a big supporter of.
He's an awesome guy.
Damien DeBell, some of the big guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those are all guys, awesome guys.
Super cool guy.
Yeah. Damien DeBell, I got nothing bad to say about them. They don't particularly like my podcast in particular. I'm a little bit more crude humor and stuff like that. I don't fit them. But I will not lie. They don't have to be a fan of mine to say that I'm a fan of both those guys. Both those guys are amazing in the sport. And as people, they're just great guys. In particular, they just don't like my content. I'm more, adult-based, a little bit more uncensored, and hit on topics that you don't see on your normal platforms. But those both are great guys. I have nothing bad to say about either one of them, and they're both representing the sport in the way it should be represented. So hats off to both those guys.
So, your the show you talk about is starting to pick up mercy. I've been. So what's kind of going on with that? I know, unlike you'll touch on stuff I probably won't touch on. You know what I mean? And you'll call people out that I probably wouldn't call out. You know what I mean? But you keep it real, which is what I like about your show.
Yes.
Right now, I just saw you, you called out Paige Van Zandt, and I kind of saw that bold move, but so kind of tell me a little bit about some of that.
It takes beans. I won't lie, especially Paige Van Zandt. And I want to be clear about something. I'm not calling Paige Van Zandt a liar at all. If you look at what I'm doing, I'm asking questions to better understand the statement she's making. I don't want to I'm not trying to say Paige Van Zandt doesn't have a condition that will keep her out. I want to be clear. I'm just saying everything that she states and has put out there publicly doesn't make sense. How could you have known about this the day you took your photos and still went ahead and promoted the fight? Things like that. How could you? Why are you taking boxing matches when you're saying you can't compete? How are you all over the internet swinging around like you're in the clubs in Miami? It just, and it's not just me. There's fans that have been in the sport for a while that have legit pointed this out to me and wanted answers. It's just that nobody else will ask Paige those questions. And it takes balls in the sport, And again, I want to be clear. Paige may have a condition. It may not even be what she's saying. I do not know. But she put out a statement after they used her picture and promoted her as being on the card. She put out a statement, and I'm just saying that statement doesn't make sense. I understand the whole kayfabe thing. If you want to keep things quiet, that's one thing. But when you put a statement out that don't make sense, I'm going to call it out. The other platforms won't. I will. I'll be like, hey, that don't make sense. Can you help me? And can you help us fans understand so that we don't think you're lying, so that we don't say you don't have this? And that's just to be clear. So I want to make it clear that Paige Van Zandt may very well have a condition. I'm just trying to better understand the statements that are out there and the action she's taken since making those statements. And that's a big thing. Because she could be very huge for the sport, but if you're slapping this sport in the face and the fans that are buying these tickets and you're showing up at Dirty Boxing, that's not fair. The weird thing is, Parks, and I actually 2 weeks before she made the move and accepted that thing on the boxing match over on Dirty Boxing, I was on another podcast. I won't mention the name. I'm not going to promote other people, but I was on another podcast and it's out there. And I actually said the statement that I don't think she's hurt. She's got something in the work with Dirty Boxing. And 2 weeks later, she showed up and she's accepting a boxing match. And it's on record. So I predicted it coming. And it just didn't make sense. I honestly believe it's a financial thing. I'm not going to quote that as being a reason, but I'm not buying what she's saying.
Yeah.
It does not add up.
Yeah. You know,
And I don't want to bash Power Slap.
Right.
I want to be clear about a couple things. To my knowledge, I don't think Power Slap has officially put out any statement on her. To my knowledge, there may be. My question is to Paige Van Zandt, just on the statements she has put out in the videos and actions she's done. This is not a crush Power Slap and say they're lying. I have not heard any statement officially for Power Slap on Paige's condition. So I want to make that clear.
Right. So, you know, Paige Van Zandt, I think she's great for the league. You know what I mean? Her being there and what she's done is great for the league. So, you know, it's her not being able to compete, I think kind of really does hurt. You know, Power Slap 13 for her being on the card. One of the things that I want to see with Power Slap is the women's division actually having a belt. Because I think that maybe if she had a belt, even say it's a financial issue, you know what I mean? Say it's a financial issue and they're unable to pay her whatever amount that they're trying to pay her, and that might be in question. I think if they had a title belt on the line, that might help keep her in the game instead of, you know what I mean, just offering the money.
Yeah. Now the women's division is very interesting right now, and I want to point something out because there's some stuff that people don't realize. This is my opinion. Just to be clear, I do not work for Power Slap, but that division is really, both the women's weight classes are on fire right now. They expected a lot from Paige Van Zandt, but you look at the people that watch Paige Van Zandt, they're not really watching this kind of content. They were watching Paige Van Zandt for the content she's known for. Mostly her OnlyFans and stuff. She's drawing a huge following. According to her, she's making a lot more money than she ever did in UFC and all that stuff. So, you know, they expected her fans to follow her to the sport, and that didn't work out. But there is a woman right now that they have just picked up, a wrestler. She doesn't have the 3 million that Paige Van Zandt does have, but I think she's got something in the high thousands, close to maybe 100K, if I'm not mistaken, who does have an audience that's very interested in this kind of content. And I think Haley J, I believe is her name, is going to be huge for the sport and actually bring more of a following than Paige Van Zandt did. Again, that is my opinion, but I think her fan base, although not as large, would be more interested in this content. So I look for her. If she can perform and she brings that audience, I would say she is going to be huge for the women's division. And that's just one, but there are some great athletes in the women's division right now. There's some that are really kind of getting slept on, if you will. I forget their names offhand. I know one of them's competing on this next card, but there is some great women's talent. But I say if you want to look at women to bring a following, Haley J is the one that's going to be on fire here really, really soon.
Cool. And you know, I noticed that. So you're talking about that. So we got Sheena Bathurst.
Hello.
And then you have Jackie Cataline, who's huge, yeah. And now they just brought in the boxing and UFC. So yeah, I mean the women's division is growing, and I think that I think what it needs is a title. It needs some kind of a belt so they can actually compete.
Yeah,
you know, or compete for.
Absolutely. And there was a suggestion from one podcaster for a pink belt. I don't know where that came from or whatever, but you're right. It's way, way overdue for a women's champion. We need one at this point. We're going to be rolling into 13 without it now, and I don't even see a women's title listed for Power Slap 14. So we're talking 15 events potentially before there could be a women's title announced. That's just way, way too long.
Which is crazy because I really think that when they do get off of the belt, that they can actually do the main card as a title match for the.
I'm sorry, you broke up that last part. I heard all the way up to a main card.
Oh, Yeah, I think that they could do like for 14, 15, whatever they're going to do. The main card could be the women's title belt. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I think they were actually gearing towards that. I think that Paige
Mhm.
Van Zandt, I think once she got the belts, they were definitely going to utilize that direction with her. I feel. I don't know. I don't speak on behalf of them, but I think they were working towards putting the women in the spotlight. I just don't think they can afford the woman that they had. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Paige is very expensive. And all of a sudden she's got
Yeah.
these, as she quoted, 1 in a million condition that happens to hit one of the highest paid slap fighters. It doesn't add up. Uh, but then again, I'm not here to crush Paige. I just do not feel they
Yeah.
honestly were able to afford her. And Dirty Boxing can. Dirty Boxing can definitely afford her. But there is great women talent out there that are not making as much who definitely should deserve a shot at this title. There is people putting in work. I'm not even a huge fan of Sheena Bathory, I believe is her name, but she is a beast. I mean, the only time she got knocked down was actually on a clubbing foul from Jackie. So why hasn't she not gotten a title shot? I honestly believe it's because she's got other stuff that's going on in her life that's paying a lot more. Look at her page. She's in the MMA and she's social media, with the modeling stuff. She's getting paid. I don't think they can afford these women they try to pull in because these women already had huge followings to begin with. And that's my opinion. Why haven't they had all their women that are actually should be getting a title shot are already getting paid large amounts of money from under other places. So why don't they have a women's title? My guess is they can't afford it. They can't afford to get the people that are actually earning it up in there. But I don't know that to be fact. And nothing else makes sense why they don't have a champion at this point. There is no other thing that to me makes sense. Maybe somebody can explain it instead of saying, "Oh, you're spewing lies and stuff." No, I'm not. I'm asking questions. Maybe instead of saying I'm spewing lies, step up and give me answers and the people that are having these same questions.
Let me ask you this. So, Power Slap has that potential to be in a huge sport.
Mm-hmm. It does? Absolutely. Can you hear
What do
me?
you think it is that they need to do to get over the hump to get to that?
Honestly,
And be able to
I'm sorry. There's a delay. I didn't mean to cut you off. You kind of like froze for a minute and then picked back up. Honestly, I don't think they need to do anything different than what they're doing right now. I think they are already addressing this issue, but you don't fix a problem overnight. You're seeing the results of stuff from the beginning. It was a new sport. This is not to say they did anything wrong, to be clear. But in my opinion, I think they overspent on a lot of things. Dana White is not going to cut the budget when it comes to production. He's putting on, a great product. So he's not going to cut it there. He didn't do it with UFC. He's definitely not going to do it with his own product. But he's got to cut budget somewhere. And he's got a lot of very expensive and talented people who deserve the money. But I think he's realizing that this sport just doesn't pull in the amount that he's putting out.
Right.
It doesn't have that following, per se. I want to cover the following real quick because a lot of people believe and they are offended by this. But how can you honestly believe that this sport has more of a following than football, baseball, basketball combined, much less alone, but combined? But most of the people wouldn't know your name if you asked them right now. If you asked any sports fan who this person is or who that person is. It don't make sense. I've been to these arenas. I sit VIP. I sit in the VIP section, and that's not even sold out like people are claiming. They can say what they want. I got video, and I got some of their top fans that sat by me and can tell you, no, there was empty seats. And a lot of the seats that are filled, not like a huge portion, but many of those seats are given away to family, friends, and people that know the promotion, stuff like that. So a lot of them are free seats that are given away anyways. But these things, although the arenas are filling, I will stand by that. They are not sold out. In fact, if you look at the arena they're bringing Power Slap 13 to, it's in the very same casino that Power Slap 12 was in. But it's in a smaller theater on a different level this time. And I pointed that out. Most people there's podcasters saying, oh, my same seat was sold out. That's impossible because it's not even in the same theater that it was the last one. So how could your same seat have been it's sold out. People are out there lying. It doesn't, I'm calling them on their bullshit. I'm like, how could your seat been sold out? It's not even the same theater. It's in the same casino, but go look, it's in a smaller venue this time. So, I'm calling bullshit on these people. I'm sorry about the language. I do apologize. I forgot to ask you. But I'm calling them out on it. Don't lie to these people and tell them, oh, it's selling fast. I want them to believe that. But don't lie to them, man. A lot of these tickets are snapped up by Power Slap and given to the families of the fighters, and people that know the promotion and stuff. They're trying to make it look full because they're on TV. They don't want to see an empty arena. You don't think people noticed that early on in the stages? There's comments all over right now about the empty arenas in the early days.
Right. You've been to a couple of the actual live events.
Yes, sir. I've been to everyone that's been open to the public. Everyone that's been open to the public except the Apex. At that time, that was when I first moved here, but I was already interviewing all the fighters from out when I was living in Denver.
So when you're at a live event, what is that like?
Oh, I love it. It's kind of like a smaller version of WrestleMania. I won't lie, the crowd there really gets into it. If you want a crowd, my daughter loves it. I love it's the first thing that I can bring my daughter to that she wants to go where she's not like, oh, I want to stay here and do my friends, or, I want to go do this, or I don't want to do that, or take me to get a treat. If I say there's a Power Slap event, she's excited before. She loves it. She gets to yell and scream and see her favorite fighters, and she knows all the guys. So it's like a family event for me. And I want to be clear, and I hope that's what this ends up being. But at the same time, if there's stuff that's just not facts along the way, don't mislead the fans because that's going to chase them away. That will chase fans away. Either don't tell them or, keep it original, things like that, but don't throw a lie out because that looks bad on the sport. When there's people out there saying, oh, I got, things that are going on. I can tell you this. Ron, I bought a ticket to Ron's last event. I have yet to see Ron live. And I bought a ticket to him when he was supposed to be Power Slap. I believe it was 10 or 9. Supposed to be here in Las Vegas. He was supposed to be against Vern Cathy. Now, I had built this match up long before it was public. As soon as Vern Cathy won, the very next day, I actually was interviewing Ron, and it's posted and promoting this fight secretly. I referred to it as hashtag Slapomania.
Right.
After I bought my ticket to finally see Ron, they moved the event and kind of misled people on why. And the truth is, his match was requested by the King out there.
Oh, wow.
That wasn't fair, but, to mislead people along the way and you put out different reasons, I'm like, why'd you do that? Because I know the truth and I'm kind of upset for buying a ticket the first time I'm going to see my dude, compete live. And if you can't compete here, that's one thing. But when you're lying and saying reason why, and that's not the fact, and I know the fact, that's what bothers me as a fan. I'm like, wow, just say, hey, we've changed the venue. Not, hey, we did it because this person, has this going on. Don't bullshit the fans because we see right through it. And it's the same thing with this case. They advertise her, according to her, she was at the doctor the same day they did the promos. So if you took the photos that same day, why did you still put them on the poster if they're doctors and you knew you had this condition? It doesn't add up. And she was only here for one day. It's not like the posters were already in work. They took the pictures. They could have made the decision not to put them on that poster. They sold tickets with her name on it, and then all of a sudden we're hearing the story. I'm like, well, if it happened on that day, why'd you advertise it? If this is legit, why is the only doctor that can back this up just so happens to be their UFC doctor? And according to you, when it was bothering you for at least a week prior, you couldn't see a doctor in your hometown? You literally came to Vegas to do a promo, knowing you had this neck injury, and then decided to see a doctor? I mean, it doesn't make sense. If you knew that injury was going on, why don't you just see a doctor and say, hey, I'm going to see a doctor instead of wasting all this money and coming to the hotel? And working out that morning, she posted a video of her working out in the hotel in Vegas, supposedly the same day. I mean, she referred to it as her 24-hour workout in Vegas. And then you're seeing a doctor with this neck injury that has been existing for a week, but you took the free trip to Vegas and the workout. It does not add up.
Right. Man, what I was going to say about the Ron Vern, I would have been mad if I missed that fight. If I had a ticket to that, I missed it.
I
That was a
was,
great
I
fight.
was, I was, man, I'm
Yeah.
gonna be honest with you. This is how much of a fan I was. I was actually in an interview, and when he won, I not only screamed like enjoy during my interview, but I broke down in tears. I'm like, here's this dude that like got me into the sport. You know, I'm not his best friend. I want to be clear, but to me, if I had
Yeah.
to pick a friend or somebody, Ron will be on the top of the list. And I'm seeing this dude, as far as everybody knew, including myself at the time, retire, and he just knocked out somebody that everybody expected. Everybody crapped on Ron, if you will. And everybody expected him to lose except for one fighter and myself. And to see him win,
Yeah.
I actually broke down in the middle of an interview. I mean, so that's how much I would really want to see this match. But then to know that I am many Mets fans were kind of misled on why it didn't happen here. It was misleading.
Right. You know what's funny is because I'm a big Vern Cathy fan, and of course Ron. When Vern knocked out Turpin, I was so happy he knocked out Turpin. So I couldn't
Me
stand
too.
Turpin. You know what I mean?
Me too.
So I was happy. So before that fight, Ron and I did our predictions. We do predictions of who we think we're going to win, and I had Turpin to win that, and he told me that Vern. He's like, don't underestimate Vern. So when Vern won that, I was so happy that I lost because I can't stand Turpin. You know what I mean? And so I called, or I text Vern, and I had Vern come on the show so I could apologize to him for underestimating him. So, and then when he went against Ron, everybody who watched my show, they're like, "Oh, Vern's got this. Vern's got this." I'm like, "Nah, no, Ron's got this. Ron's got to defend his title." And so when Ron won, I was so happy Ron won. I went back, texted him while he's still there, congratulating him for the knockout. And then I brought Vern back on. I told Vern, dude, I felt so bad that it had to be you. You know what I mean? I'm
I'm
glad
gonna.
it was you because everybody knows how tough you are. You know what I mean? But I hate that it was you because you got knocked out. You know what I mean?
I'll be honest with you. Vern and I, on a personal level, we disagree on stuff. I love Vern as a competitor. We had a little disagreement in the past. I won't even get into it because I got nothing bad to say about Vern. You know, when you do this, sometimes you say things that people don't like, things like that, if you will. But I was sad for Vern too. I knew Vern's story. You know, he got so close every time to winning something. He'd be that second guy. I had the interview. I was the one that, he told that story to. So, I felt bad for Vern. But there was no way I was not going to be Team Wolverine going in this all the way. I had built this fight up from the day after Vern knocked Turpin out. And again, if I had to pick top three, Vern at the time was definitely in my top three. It's since changed because there's new talent. But at the time, man, Vern was definitely in my top three as a fighter, and I still respect him to this day. Nothing bad to say about Vern, especially when it comes to this sport. He's just a great all-around guy, when it comes to it, and he's great for the guys. He keeps a lot of guys in line. A lot of guys look up to Vern.
Right. He's such a cool guy too.
Yes.
What you were saying too, I think that if Dana realized that the fan base loves Power Slap, regardless, if he is on, for him to be honest with this, regardless of what the situation is, we want to see the sport grow. So we know that there's going to be changes that's going to have to take place, and sometimes matches may not happen or get moved around for it to happen. But like you're saying, if he just be honest about it up front, I think that'll go a long way with his fan base.
Yeah, and to be clear, I want to make sure I point something out. I don't, to my knowledge, Power Slap has not made a statement as to why. So I want to make sure my questions were to Paige Van Zandt, not any accusations, but questions. And I do want to also be clear about something else. Yes, fight cards are always subject to change. Read that fine print. So I get that. If I bought a ticket and paid, I'm not crying because Paige Van Zandt, I didn't buy a ticket for Paige Van Zandt. But there was some people that did. There was fans that did. There was people that liked Paige Van Zandt. And I'm like, I'll be honest, I got a few of her cards. I'm not even a Paige Van Zandt fan in the sport. or any of her content. I used to like Paige Van Zandt when she was UFC. I haven't followed her, anything like that. I just don't keep up with her, if you will. But there is people in the sport, both athletes and fans, that do like her and love what she's doing. It doesn't matter if she's out there picking flowers or eating ice cream. They're going to love it. So when you let people down and then lie to them on top of it, people are going to have questions. And people are sending me videos saying, go look at her page. It's not just me. If you go look at the video during her announcement and read, there's a lot of people that are questioning it, saying, well, she seems just fine according to your post. Some people in the comments are even trying to blame Power Slap. I mean, look what this thing that she put out could potentially do for the sport. There's people in those comments that are saying that's happened because of Power Slap. Well, not according to her. It was a one in a million genetic condition. How do you get it for Power Slap? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's my point. Her putting that out, I'm going to call it because it could potentially hurt the sport. Everybody thinks I'm hurting the sport by calling her out. I'm like, I didn't put the statement out. I got people questioning the statement she put out. They can't ask her. I'm a voice that, represents a lot of you guys and your stories and ask questions. Can answer me? And her response was, Google it. That's what she put on my page. She wants me to Google why she's misleading the fans. She wants me to Google why she's accepting boxing matches and turn down Power Slap. Or she wants me to Google why she's dancing around, doing all the stuff on OnlyFans. Google gives me facts. I'm not getting facts. Yeah. And that's why I went to her, because Google is not giving me those answers. I need facts. People are wanting to know. Again, this is not about, they put her off the card and people are crying because she canceled. People don't care that she canceled. There's a lot of them anyways. But there's some that do, and she's telling them, hey, this is why.
Yeah. And I think, too, if she explained that to the fans, they would understand it.
Absolutely.
They would, matter of fact, they would probably back her on it,
Absolutely. And they're legit questions. They're not personal questions about her medical condition. They're questions about the statement she made. I mean, what are the odds? 1 in a million hits the highest paid slap fighter. And then what are the odds that I predicted 2 weeks before that she would accept a fight in boxing? And then she did. Right after she made a statement, she can't compete. I mean, a lot of it just doesn't add up. And what does add up is they couldn't afford you, because all of a sudden this condition don't bother you when people are paying you a lot more money to get hit in that same head.
Right. And if it's a financial thing, for me, I would just say, we decided I have to take a step back because they're going to recalibrate, bring in some more talent, grow the sport. And then when they're ready, I'll be able to step back in.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I get it. They're making financial moves. They are, but then again, you got fighters asking, hey, what's going on, man? We've been sitting here. I interviewed a guy. There's a few of them now. I could tell you at least 2 people I can think of right now, one from season 1 and one from season 3, who have not got to slap anybody yet. Both of them have been slapped, and that would be Devin Helms from season 3. And then you look over at season 1, I just interviewed him the other day, Miles Jackson. Season 1, he went against Brian Johnson. He got hit one time. He hasn't slapped since. Why haven't we seen some of these guys? And I'm not saying, they don't want, that's not fair or anything like that. And, they're bringing new talent. Man, you have to evolve. You have to bring in new talent. Right. But can you let the guys know something instead of telling me I'm lying when I tell them it's financial? They're fixing financial thing. Don't run over here and say I'm lying. And then I say, well, if I'm lying and you got facts, can you tell them instead of spreading rumors and trying to get them to stop listening to me? Because they came to me wanting answers, and unless you got better ones, don't come over here and try and stop them from listening to the answers they see.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, too, I noticed from the beginning is that, and I used to talk to Ron about this a lot, is the rankings. I really don't feel like the rankings really matter, because they're looking to pick the fights that they think people want to see, regardless of who your ranking is. Because you could have somebody high up in the ranking who will never fight for a while, because you're promoting the ones that are good for the sport. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I could point out the rankings in both ways. Bryce Jones, 2-0, He was ranked for a very short period of time, didn't even compete, and got knocked out of the rankings. And I kept bringing his name up. And he's not the only one, but then you can look at other people who are in the rankings. Now, people are going to be surprised I'm even speaking up for this guy because he really foul-mouthed and everything. But McKinney, he definitely deserves to be up there higher. And he's getting crapped on in the rankings. McKinney has performed super well. And so that goes both ways. They're definitely pushing the people they want. And another one, I want to point this out. This guy is great for the sport. He's huge for the sport. He's representing it well. He's out there working every day. Pono Pau. Pono has now lost twice, and he's sitting in the middle of the ranking. And we got Bryce Jones, who's won twice, and he's not ranked. And again, I love, and Bryce would not complain about Pono at all. He loves Pono. He looks up as a lot of people. But my point is, I agree with you on the rankings. I think the rankings show a lot of favoritism, are very political. And it's not fair to some fighters, but even those fighters that it's not fair to are the ones that say, I wouldn't complain, shit happened, or crap happened, sorry. Those are the ones that are getting kind of messed with that still don't complain. Miles Jackson, man, has never gotten to fight or to get a slap in yet. He's gone to work every day and not once posted a social media complaint about not getting a match. You know, I mean, the ones that aren't complaining are the ones that are kind of getting burned.
And I think the ones that don't complain are all the nice guys. The guys that's not out there, like, like the Chris Thomas. He's out there. He's like, let's say whatever's on his mind, and the sport loves it. He's great for the sport. Even Turpin, which I can't stand, but Turpin, great for the sport.
He brings it. Yes.
So you got these guys that get out there and they're loud, they talk a lot, and they get a lot of airtime, as far as the slaps. And then you got the nice guys like Manu, quiet spoken, not a loud spoken person, who's good at this, and won, but they're just not getting the time.
Yeah. It's kind of like I don't know if you're familiar with the wrestling terms, but there's faces and heels. The heels are the bad guys, but the bad guys do good things. In the opposite, the faces are good guys, but they do bad things. It's kind of the same. The guys that are doing good things are not getting noticed. The Damien DeBells, the Ron Betas, those are not getting noticed. The guys that are like Turpin and stuff out there, I don't want to seem like I'm knocking Turpin, but when they're calling you names and stuff like that, they're getting the recognition. But I want to point out with Turpin hurt himself with his own fan base. So he's kind of a bad example. But there is some bad boys in the sport, who are representing with their audience and drawing a huge audience. Ryan Phillips. Ryan had a huge following. But Ryan killed himself, not just with his fans, with his peers. A lot of people broke away from him that were super close friends with him. And I'm not going to get into stuff of why. People can go research if they really want to. But a lot of people that really looked up to him kind of don't anymore. And, so you can kill your fan base by being a bad boy as well. You can try and continue, constantly. And sometimes people are, okay, that's just too much. And that's, with my content, I'm kind of putting out, some stuff to catch their attention, but I'm still bringing the facts and the stuff that people want to see. They're still wanting to see those interviews and find out stuff about the fighters. So, again, the bad boy like Turpin, he hurt himself with his fans with the weight missing and things like that. That didn't look good for him.
Yeah. Well, he lost. He times. One, they said that they had to pull the card because they said that it was a family emergency. All right, I'll give him that one. You know what I mean? But he came in overweight with Ron. And he came overweight with Vern. So and here's the thing: if you're going to talk that much crap, you know what I mean, you should be able to back it up.
Absolutely.
Back it up.
Absolutely. I don't want to get into too much detail, but I'm sure you've seen the one that called me out. Then he blocked me first, then called me out. But people still sent it to me. I guess he thought I wasn't going to see it. I'm like, man, most of your fans are your fans because I interviewed you into the niche. I brought you in and then started hooking you up. I was like, so of course they're going to come tell me. And I haven't heard from him since. I'm like, first of all, I'm not a slap fighter. I don't claim to be. I'm not trying to say, oh, I'll slap this person, I'll slap that person.
Right.
He said he was going to slap me. My response was, come slap me and find out what happens. I'm not challenging him to no slap contest. I'm going to respond accordingly. But he said he was going to come slap me, so I was like, come do it. I'm not pretending to be a slap fighter. I was paralyzed at one point. I went from, doing MMA and stuff to full paralysis. I don't claim to be a fighter, but I know I'm going to back it up when people talk. Just like you said, you shouldn't be talking stuff, and then backing out. And so I feel you on that. I have a personal situation of that right now.
See, your fans love you. My fans, the people that watch my show, they want me to get out there and just for the show, get slapped.
Oh, I got some that hate me.
Yeah.
I got some haters.
They're like, hey, tell Ron that, you want to go to one of the matches and then just film Ron slapping you. Like, if Ron slapped me, I would not wake up for like a week.
You'd be surprised how many people messaged me and wanted to see that slap off between me and Joe. But I was like, hey, he said he was going to slap me. Go look at mine. I said I was going to respond. Right. That because I'm not a slap fighter. I'm very interested in sport, but I wouldn't challenge one of these pro guys. Man, they would knock me out in a heartbeat. And I'm a big dude. Like Ron could probably flick a booger through me. He's just a big dude. I don't challenge these pro fighters at what they're good at. I know better. And I'm not out there challenging people to slap off fights and stuff. But, sometimes people will challenge you to something, they think they're good at. When you call them out, you make them look stupid because you point out they're not good at it.
Right. I know you got to go. So let me ask you. I know you just put up the interview with Ron, which I'm going to go back and watch.
It's just a clip right now. There's information he released that I can't put out yet. There's stuff on other promotions that I can't put out. And so I've been holding out for a while.
Yeah, I saw you said you had that interview for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's about 2 weeks old. So some of the information, I'm like, well, he already covered that. I'm like, I know, but there's stuff that I got that he's covered that I can't put out yet. Especially a real big thing that I think is hilarious coming up, about to be released. I can't wait to talk about, but so there's stuff that I can't put out. Some of the stuff I have to hold on to for a couple of weeks before I can put it out because of the content.
Cool. So what I'll do, do you have any new interviews coming up?
Oh man, I'm booked this week and next week. I got a couple guys still from Slap Fighting Championship. I don't want to say names because a lot of my, headers there, they'll be messaging them and asking, hey, don't do the interview, things like that. But I got a few guys from Slap Fight. I got one more from Brit Slap, and I have one guy from Punisher for Slap Fight. So we got a few more this week, and then next week all I'll say is I got some more new talent. I've received a lot of feedback, and I've read a lot of stuff. People are getting tired of seeing the same interviews, the same people. Like you'll see, and I want to be clear, I love these guys, but like Pono's one of the names they mentioned. Like we see Pono in a different interview every day, a different podcast, and asking the same question. And that's why a lot of people are still following me, is because I'm interviewing new faces where everybody else is seeing the same ones while other people are being sad. So I got a lot of new faces coming in the next 2 weeks. I will say that, including some that will be here in Vegas starting Sunday.
Cool. So if somebody wanted to catch your show, where do they catch your show at?
Oh, it's super easy. www.beyondtheslap.com. And I'm not like a lot of content creators. I don't put my stuff on YouTube and Rumble and all that. I keep it on one platform. I keep it simple. I don't even use TikTok. It's all you have to do is go to Instagram. I do my full interviews. I usually keep my interviews usually 10 minutes or less, sometimes 15. But I keep them fairly short so you can watch them right there on that platform.
Cool. And what I'll do is I'm going to reach out to Ron and see if we can do our predictions for Power Slap 13 and bring you on and have you do your we'll go through the card and make our predictions and see what happens.
Nice. I'm going to send you a little secret about him off camera here. So you got a little topic to talk about him. Something fun that you'll enjoy, man.
All right, cool. All right, brother.
Listen, Parks.
Coming on, man. I know it's been a minute. We're trying to get you. We had some things happen, but I'm glad you got to be on.
Yes, sir. And I'm probably going to hit you up here really soon too. I'd love to bring you on my podcast here really soon. I got to look at my
Well,
schedule and stuff. I don't want to quote any dates, but if you got time, it seems like you got Wednesdays might be your day. I'm sure we could work something out, off camera. But my man, I do have to get going. I'm running late, and it's been an honor. One more thing. I didn't get it at the beginning. I love your intro, man. It's nice, soft, and relaxing. I love your intro. So that was nice.
Right,
yes, sir, Parks. Hey, Jay, good luck with your podcast, my man. Bye-bye.
I appreciate it. All right, guys, until next week, remember, you guys are uniquely designed with a purpose. And always keep moving forward. Peace.